Hey guys, Jason here. Today we're going to go over my Vancouver Island road trip. So come join me today on my road trip along the coast of Vancouver Island. We started at the Glass Beach in Sydney, just right off the airport. And I really enjoyed the sound of the waves that were in this area. It's very relaxing. The Glass Beach ended up being just broken glass, but the colors were still really cool to look at. And the port itself just had a really good vibe. I thought this Rocking Sailor, this fish and chips place we ate at was really cool. And we actually just tried to make a Coca-Cola commercial. I got the new iPhone 14, so I really wanted to try recording some stuff with it. So I thought that was really fun. Here is a mini tour of our camper van named Shoe. It was our first time renting a camper van, and it's been a bucket list item of mine for quite a while now, so I was pretty excited to get in it and just kind of go on a road trip. Here we were packing up our stuff and getting ready to leave Victoria and head to Port Renfrew. We followed some signs and we ended up at Ella Beach. That was our first stop. The view here was just amazing. You can hear the ocean from walking in on the trail. There was a single tree right by the cliff on its own. I thought it looked really nice to look at. The way the ripples were coming in on this beach was just amazing. We made our way down to another trail, and we were able to enjoy the coastline right off of a cliff here. She claimed to have seen an otter while I was recording her, but I missed it, so I wasn't able to really see it. But we ended up coming to Sherrington Point Lighthouse. It was a really cool location to stop by, and it wasn't that long of a hike. She wanted to climb down to the beaches, but these cliffs are a lot steeper than what they look like. I thought this looked really cool. They actually looked like people to me when I recorded, but it ended up just being kelp. And here I was very satisfied to just watch the waves crash against the rocks. And so we originally planned for a first come first serve campsite, and when we came there we realized it was full. So we actually didn't know where we would end up sleeping. And that's when we luckily met Bobby. Bobby was a great person. She suggested us this crazy spot nearby, and without her, without this spot, without the sunset that we were able to see thanks to this spot, it was probably the highlight of the trip, and it really made the trip for me. And I just felt really lucky to be here right at this time and just enjoying the moment. I think we were really lucky because usually around this time it is rain season around this area, but I was able to see the moon and the sunset all at the same time. It felt like I was just kind of seeing two different views, and just being able to see it all at once was a great thing to me. And this shot was amazing here. So day 2 comes, and we're leaving Jordan River and continuing to Port Renfrew. We end up driving at such a high elevation. I think it was 7 a.m. and it was a bit scary because we were driving close to the edge. I checked after the fact, and I think over there is actually Washington. And the view is amazing here. I had to stop, pull over, take a shot, and we ended up making a pit stop. It was so clean here. I was surprised at how clean it was. And we were able to make a coffee, and I drank out of this cup I got back in Victoria. So you're probably wondering why Port Renfrew. It was for the Juan de Fuca Provincial Park. We arrived pretty early, and the forest was a bit spooky to walk through until I saw the sun hit this plant almost perfectly. So we had to go pretty early because Bobby told us that the tide would be low and it's a good time to go. And I ended up seeing this island of trees. You could really see how calm the waves were at this time. So I had to get up close to try to get a close-up of anything I could find. The rocky terrain here made it feel like I was by a volcano. The beach was very biodiverse. Here you can see some sea anemones, a whole lot of sea sacks, and an emptied out crab shell. I was really excited all trip to test out the stabilizer on the iPhone 14, and I was so impressed with how this shot ended up. It was as if I was using a gimbal. And after a couple of hours, you could see the waves started to pick up. The ground in the air was really wet, as if the tide was just here, which made the ground pretty slippery, so you had to be careful. Bobby did warn us not to get trapped by the tide and to watch out for waves. You could really see how rough the waves were getting, so I tried my best to capture the crashing waves. Found a lot of empty and clustered mussels. That was cool. And we moved away from the area because the waves were starting to come in. There's this rock full of snails. This is interesting. Then we found this bright green sea anemone. Would you guys believe me if I told you she actually put her finger in one of those? She started to push in some hermit crabs back right into their family. You see all the hermit crabs. And these rocks here reminded us of Spirited Away. So each hole here had their own ecosystem. So this area was like a giant neighborhood. And so thanks guys for watching and listening, and stay tuned for my next